Hey guys, Nenad here. In this video, I'm gonna share the story of how I overcame my shyness and low self-esteem by doing one thing. That one thing that really was a catalyst for my personal growth, for accepting myself who I was and becoming more confident and shifting my self-image. Let me tell you a little bit about me before I tell you the one thing, because it's important to understand when I was growing up, I was labeled shy, reserved, timid because of my very introverted nature compared to my brother who was very extroverted, very loud. We were very different. And so as I was the more quiet type, playing alone, doing my thing, very vivid imagination, people just start to label you. And I started to act and I started to become and live by those labels. And so I started to become even more quiet. I started to not go toward people too much. I started to be, the shy kid. And as I was growing up, becoming, a teenager, you go into this phase where opinion of other people and peer pressure and being part of a group really matters. It's like that one thing that's so important, right? Being liked by people. The challenge that I had when I was about 13, 14 years old, and on top of that, shyness, and even though I had friend and it was not too bad, this one thing happened. I started to grow fast, tall. I started to grow very, very tall, very fast. In fact, I became one of the tallest kids in the whole school, which brought a lot of attention toward me. All of a sudden, people were starting to ask me, why are you so tall? How are you growing so fast? I look at, I need to do this, come and talk to you, and my neck, and, whatever, all those things. And that thing just brought a lot of, wow, I was becoming very self-conscious about myself in a very negative way because I was like, why am I different? Why are people making fun of me? And even though they were not necessarily making fun of me, I associated this as something negative. And this reinforced the pattern of trying to be smaller, trying to not being the center of attention, trying to hide, that lack of confidence with strangers, social anxiety, not wanting to talk to people, not being assertive. And when you suffer with shyness and low self-esteem, it affects you in pretty much everything you do. And so my teenage years were very difficult. I was very lonely, and I was putting myself in situation to be lonely because of my behaviors, because of my self-image. And of course, this is not something you understand at the time, but looking back, it was very obvious that I created my life and my experience back then because of all those beliefs, because of that almost that embarrassment of how I looked and so on. And so this lack of confidence, grew and affected me, and I was, lonely. I played a lot of video games. I didn't have many friends, but eventually it started to get better. When you start to become a younger adult, 18, 19 years old, you start to, maybe loosen up a little bit. That's what happens to me. I had still, the shyness, not being assertive, not expressing myself, not making decisions. What I realized, looking back, the reason why it loosened up is because I was, by then, in a very comfortable comfort zone. In fact, I had a very thick blanket of comfort wrapped around me to protect myself. And I think this is something we all do. And because I was, trapped in this comfort zone, I wasn't really stretching myself. And so I was very comfortable and I was just living this comfortable, boring, empty life until I decided to shake it up completely when at 20 years old, I moved to Australia. And because I shaked my comfort zone completely and everything was new and everything, the language and the people and the environment, I got triggered big time. Again, all those fears, all that exposure, bring all those insecurity to the surface, and it was very difficult to deal with. So for a lot of it, I had, to have fun with people. I had to get drunk, or I had to, get into those altered states in order to be, me and let the real me have fun a little bit. But to keep the story short, the story short, what happened that helped me get out of this, that helped me break the pattern, that helped me change my self-image and become more assertive, more confident, and have a better self-esteem of myself, was when I attended a seminar. In that seminar, there was a big, tall man who was basically sharing his story of how he overcame a very similar issue of being too tall, being big, being different. And he shared this one powerful thing with me, which to this day still is something that is so powerful every time I think of it. He said, what we need to change is not how other people look at us. And we try so hard to get other people to like us, but that's not what's going to change us. That's not what's going to change our life. That's not what's going to make us more confident. He said what matters most is how we see ourselves. What do you see when you look at the mirror? Do you like what you see? Are you embarrassed? Are you ashamed of yourself? Do you feel guilty? Do you feel empowered? How do you see yourself when you look at the mirror? And that's the one thing you need to change, your own self-image. And it made me think a lot because it was really true. In fact, it was as if he was speaking to me. And really going through that and thinking about this, I decided that, I had enough. I had enough of seeing my height, 1.96 m, by the way, if you're wondering, as something bad, something to be embarrassed or ashamed of. And I decided to do the one thing that changed everything. I decided to see it as a compliment, as a gift. And so every time somebody would say, oh, you're so tall, or why are you so tall, or make any form of remark regarding to my height, which by the way is very often, I would say thank you. And to be honest, at first it sucks, it's difficult, it's actually easier to be embarrassed, say nothing and fuck off than to say thank you. But I kept at it because I reached the point where I had fucking enough. And I kept on saying thank you, thank you, thank you for noticing, thank you. And over time, it started to change. It started to change because I started to become more playful with it. People were laughing because they were taken aback with like, oh my God, he's so confident about it. Or, that kind of dynamic was completely different, completely new. And I started to feel better about myself and better about myself and better about my height. I was no longer trying to hide. I was no longer, trying to not be the center of attention, not trying to stand tall anymore, or whatever. I was just there. And it started to create a ripple effect, just like this domino. When you push the first domino, it collapses all the others. And with time and dealing with other issues and other confidence blocks, it changed my whole self-image. I became more assertive, more confident, better, just more outgoing, more playful, more self-expressed. And I cannot tell you the gift what that does in your life when you start to accept your own body, when you start to see your own body as a gift. I started to eat better, I started to work out, I started to gain weight, I started to, completely transform. And so my invitation and my message for you in this video, guys, is to find that one thing and apply that one thing in your life. What is it about your body? What is it about yourself that you're not liking right now? And accept that and see that as a gift, see that as a compliment. Whether you think your hair are not the right color, if you think you're too small, too slim, that you should have a different chin, that you have whatever it is, we all have all those crazy expectations from social media and the perfect people that we see on billboard that are photoshopped and we feel like everybody should look like them. That's all garbage. Remember, the only thing that matters the most is how we see ourselves. When you look at the mirror, what is it that you're not owning about yourself? That if you did, would completely transform your life. And I dare you to start saying thank you every time you see yourself. Or every time someone said, you're short, or you're this, or you're that. Say thank you. Turn everything into a compliment. You are a gift, you deserve it. And as long as you don't accept yourself, as long as you don't see your body as a gift, or a certain aspect of yourself, or a certain aspect of your personality, you will continue to suffer, and you will continue to hide, and you continue to play small, and you will continue to run your life.